I take that action to strike. The aspect of simplicity means that I'm taking that first attack. Bruce Lee's Tao of Jeet Kune. For me, this is a special episode because now I'm going to be digging in and sharing with you my interpretation of this information that I learned from my teachers and sources that I believe can give you a good insight on how to perform Jeet Kune. Now, a lot of the times we look at interpretations as a way of self-expression, but the core values are hidden within the text, as well as the notes. I was finding that a lot of the binding was starting to fall apart, and I decided to upgrade to the latest edition, which is this one. If you haven't got a copy yet, I would suggest do so. You can go to brucelee.com and you can get a 10 copy there. I find this very intriguing because they've upgraded some of its text to make it clearer. They magnified some of the images, and it gives you a really nice insight on how this looks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Comment down below. Let me know where you're at in the Tao, and if you don't have a copy, maybe you should get one. Tell me what edition you have. Tell me what intrigues you inside the text, and we can probably discuss that in the comments below. Now, if you want to learn more about my program, please visit theartofjeet.com. There I have courses for you to take a structural path, and that way you can develop yourself from the very beginning all the way to advanced stages. I have courses lined out there for you. I also have something coming up that will also help those that are in need of an explosive edge. Now let's get started. So we're going to go back in time and wear the uniform the way you see Bruce Lee did in the Bruce Lee fighting methods. You'll see the coat has been modified to tailor a unique fit. At that time period, it set him apart from the rest, because we're gonna give you the whole look, right? So, you won't see much of the red as much, but it's okay. You're gonna go right into boots. Most traditional arts, which have you train barefoot, is to have correct footing, positioning, to feel the ground, so you have correct adjustments to your technique. Here's the take. Now you can show them from front to back. Look at that. Nice. First of all, you get to read it in actual text if you have a hard time reading cursive. So I would suggest trying to read his notes and then go off if you're getting the words right. The art of Jeet Kune is simply to simplify. Everybody has an interpretation when they read something based off your experience, based off something in the past, something you encountered that you feel is relevant to what the words mean. It'd be great to hear from another perspective and culture. Simply to simplify, when you hear those words and somebody expresses that, what does it mean to you, simply to simplify?
Yeah, I mean, it's the directness of it all, but in just, layman terms, it's just the easiest, most direct way to do something. But it's also, as it mentions there, between 2 points, if you want to get from A to B, it's straight to it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of the simplicity that's referencing to is just the easiest way that my body and the ways that my movements work to not waste time. Because the more time you waste in a situation, the less time you have and the worse things could be off.
When you picked up that copy, were you training in another martial art already, or did you attain that copy first and then started training martial arts?
Yeah, I mean, after I fell in love with the movies, I came into the book because I wanted to just learn what was going on. And when I learned more about what was going on, I decided to obviously just dive into the book before I ever started punching, before I ever started kicking. For me personally, I wanted to figure out what the basis was. I wanted to figure out what the foundation was behind everything so I wouldn't hurt myself or I wouldn't do something wrong. But once I did learn through the book, I started applications within a boxing ring. So I had to kind of throw away a little bit, obviously, of what happens in there. But when I was boxing, it was something where I could take a lot of those words and put it into action. It was a way to kind of test myself. And, even though I was practicing in my backyard every now and again with these techniques after reading them and watching videos and everything, it turned into more of a trial and error program. And being able to actually apply it in a real intense situation, those words started to jump right out of the page and made sense.
A lot of people could take away from that book just simply because it's teaching you along the way and making you much better. But we have to come to an alignment as to what simplicity is, because if we're looking at something, for instance, you come in and you throw a punch, and I'm parrying, and even your good recoil, boom, that I'm parrying. Most would argue, if they've studied JKD for quite a while, it's 50 years now since the man passed past that now. Somebody should have already figured out that you should be hitting instead of parrying.
Yeah.
But why am I parrying? Am I parrying because I'm learning a progression? So the first progression, if you're throwing the punch, I'm going to parry. You can even recoil. Boom. I'm parrying, so I'm not going to get hit. But it's a progression to that aspect. And if we're going to start applying the principles of JKD, which is simple, because right here, I had to parry the counter. All right. But if I can fire and hit, I'm driving simplicity within that context. Now I'm hitting, but I'm using the parry as the basis to apply that. So then, if I have to explain it that way, sometimes it doesn't sound simple. It sounds sophisticated. So does simple mean learn it in a simplistic way, or get to simplicity by the sophistication of its understanding? Because it does require high attributes. It has to have a time and a place for it within your lifetime. Where are you in your life that you can pull off the strengths and the abilities?
I don't think it was ever meant to be complete.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever meant to have a start and an end. I think it was built for a reason, that the people like us that took it and ran with it and continued to train in it, we were supposed to continue it. We were supposed to add more to it following this foundation. And I think that's where that question confuses people, and even me, because I'm thinking about, what does complete mean? What does it mean to reach the end of something and to just be called done with it?
And that way of thinking, would you start in the beginning, or would you start after understanding the framework?
So I would say understanding the framework is the best way to have a beginning within the art, because the framework gives us the path to walk on. It gives us a way to find a way to start. There's a lot of things in life that if you don't have guidance on from the beginning, it's just going to be a lot of, chaos as you're trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I think where the beginning comes in, if you don't have that framework, the chaos follows. But when you do have the framework, it might be chaos still, but at least it'll have a purpose.
When you're training in this and you're doing this for the first time, it's good to question things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't question anything. In fact, it depends on your instructor and the environment and the mission of the school that's trying to teach you JKD. So you would have to abide by those guidelines, all right? And then you can follow through. Now, dependent on where you are and your understanding, if you have no idea where to go with this and you're just kind of pulling information from every source and developing your own, you might be a little bit, I wouldn't say disgruntled in your way of thinking. I would just say that you need to focus in on one area and one aspect, because first your physical performance needs to be up to speed. So I would suggest listening to a coach that will drive those aspects first. This is a bit cliche, by the way. So if I'm here and he's just standing, that there's nothing going on from this end, and we understand that. I'm just showing you how the human body is going to develop in the closing. So he approaches me, I take that action to strike. I'm not necessarily waiting. Like, the aspect of simplicity means that I'm taking that first attack, right? I'm attacking prior to him attacking. He's coming in, I can hit the knee and follow up to hit. I could be caught off guard, he comes in, I'm driving this right into the head, or I can change this into hammer fist, all right? I don't want you to feel like, everything is over by you just standing there and posing. No, these are just simple tools that I'm just exemplifying that can be applied. For instance, he comes in, I'm not gonna stop there. The aspect is like I'm going and I'm just firing and continually hitting. We're doing this on the on the aspect that I want to care for my partner as I'm training this, and then to take it to the other extent would be more sparring. If you're gonna go pro level, that's where everything has to count. Now you can take it all the way. If you are into MMA and you're ready to get started, comment down below. I'm very interested and intrigued in understanding where you're going to take this if you're going to utilize the art of JKD. This was a great episode. It was very special to me. I'm going to share more aspects of Tao of Jeet Kune. Subscribe, share, and like. Until then, stay explosive.